everybody, Warframe, the Plains of Eidolon update has released, and we're going to be talking about that in a little bit, but first, let's get people caught up. So, for those who have never played Warframe before, Warframe is a third-person shooter, which, while it had its problems before, and we'll get into those problems, essentially has you playing as a space ninja, known as a Tenno. It's a very grindy game in the vein of Dynasty Warriors or any of those other games where you just go mass murdering enemies. And that's fine. If you're into that kind of gameplay, that kind of grindy gameplay where you're mowing through hundreds and thousands of enemies, this is the game for you. However, if you prefer a more directed experience, a more story-driven experience, this is not the game for you. Now, for those who played Warframe 4+ years ago, the game has undergone massive changes over the years, and even more changes in the recent Plains of Eidolon update. So let's go over how Warframe has changed over time. First of all, the nail in the coffin, when I played 4+ years ago, the game had a completely different movement system. It was Movement 1.0, and it was garbage. You were mostly restricted to the ground. You had the ability to run up walls, but the primary way of moving around fast, do a power attack with your weapon and slide in order to do a coptering motion, and you just copter all over the place. That was how you were expected to travel from part to part. It looked stupid as hell, it felt stupid as hell, and the stamina bar was exhausting, not only to your character when they ran out of stamina, but to me as a player, because it basically said, hey, you obviously didn't take track in school, did you, Space Ninja? You're kind of tired, aren't you? Yeah, sucks to be you, little Space Ninja. Take a rest now, even though everyone's shooting at you. Yeah, thankfully, that system's gone. They replaced it with bullet jumping and unlimited stamina. So you can run around as much as you want, you can crouch and then jump in order to perform a bullet jump, which will catapult you through the air, allowing you to do just amazing feats that, you know, if you look at the level geometry looks like it's supposed to be an ordinary facility or an ordinary forest or whatnot, but you're a ninja, so you're flying over it as if it were nothing. And that's really the point of the game. That is what has transformed it from what I considered a garbage game to a good game. A simple movement system change. Now, supporting that, of course, there have been changes to the user interface. It's not clunky and big anymore. It's streamlined and beautiful. The system by which you upgrade your character, because your levels are almost meaningless. The actual meaning is in the mods you have installed into your Warframe and into your weapons, and you level them up in order to install more mods in them. But the point is, the modding system used to have your Warframe abilities as actual mods. That system was removed. The modding system was updated in almost every conceivable way, including the replacement of these old fusion cores that you used to get as rewards that you'd use to level up mods, make them stronger. They gutted the fusion core system and replaced it with something called Endo. Endo was not only gotten in large amounts during rewards, such as what would originally net you fusion cores, but also in small amounts, from killing enemies to breaking open treasure chests. The whole idea behind the Endo system is it provides a more consistent stream of upgrades to your mods instead of these fusion cores, which just, they were irregular, they were somewhat of a pain to get in comparison. The Endo system also rolled out with these little Ayatan statues that you can actually turn in for Endo, and pretty much anyone with access to the Bazaar on Mars can do a quest and get one once a week. Or if you have access to the end-game ultra high-level missions known as sorties, you have a chance of getting a statue once a day. And oh boy, did the game load me down with statues. I have my own monster on my navigation console I refer to as Ayatan Prime. When Warframe originally launched, the content was pretty bare bones. and through updates over the years, they've added more and more content. The old star map system, which wasn't a map at all, it was literally just a listing of planets and then a little circle of missions that you could pick from around each planet. That system gutted as well, replaced with something much better, a star map. This star map allows you to go from node to node in a progression. And when you finish the progression and done all of the challenges in a specific area, and these challenges are important because the game is still obtuse as hell. It does not tell you how to do things adequately. I complained earlier about it not explaining modding to its full extent, and it still doesn't. It has minor tutorials that don't actually explain the significance of, say, corrupted mods or builds. You have to figure those out yourself, and that leaves Warframe in the state of being a wiki game. A game where the developers are not good enough at explaining things, or too lazy to properly explain things, that they've then instead offloaded it to a wiki. The community is so fervently defending the company on this point, where they're like, they're supporting the YouTubers so the YouTubers can explain everything. But seriously, it does actually foster a community sense where the community comes together to help people. Unfortunately for those antisocial folks who don't want to talk to other people, just want to play a game, they find themselves quickly lost and quitting. The turnover rate for new players in Warframe is higher than the community wants to admit. And so I encourage anyone trying out this game for the first time, go onto the region chat, ask questions, go to the relays, ask for help. It's fine. Look on YouTube, check out guides. Anytime there's something where they mention an item or something, you don't know what it does, you need to find a build for it, look on the wiki, look on YouTube, look in all these places. Because there are community resources to help you, because the game isn't good enough at explaining them. And the next part is big spoilers, even though the story is practically non-existent until later on. You can leave now. You can click my referral link in the video description to benefit me from having started the game. But, yeah, I suspect you're going to stick around and listen to the spoilers. A new system was implemented later, known as the focus trees. The focus trees are tied to your operator. Originally, you were just kind of this omnipresent consciousness that switched between warframes. You were just a Tenno, and it was expected that you were the warframe, or you were in communication with the warframe in some way that wasn't fully explained. Things didn't add up. Through a storyline contrivance known as the Second Dream, you are released from cryosleep and you can actually play as your humanoid character. You can customize the character just as much as you can customize the warframes. This was a game changer. Being able to pop out of your warframe, do a special ability, pop back in. Either way, the War Within expands on that tree and gives you the ability to pop out of your warframe whenever you want and actually do things as an operator. It allows you to fire this laser beam out of your hand whenever you want. It allows you to do a knockback blast. It allows you to get into a stealth mode and actually then go out of the stealth mode as like a void dash that can go through enemies. This becomes the central premise of fighting these enemies known as Kuva Guardians, where they are immortal and protected by their Kuva. But what you do is you knock them back, then you do a void dash through them, and dashing through them strips them of their immortality. You get back in your warframe and you murder them. And that's pretty much how the focus tree was made to exist until the Chains of Haru update, which actually increased the output of your void blast and allowed you to do more damage as your operator. But it was really the Plains of Eidolon update that changed the way the operator works completely. Once you gain access to the new area in the Plains of Eidolon known as Cetus, you can get out of your warframe and walk through a door and meet a guy from a faction known as the Quills. You'll get an amp installed on your operator's wrist, which separates the void energy you use from shooting from the void energy of, say, your dashing and other abilities. This update also changed the way the focus trees work. No longer do you just pop out of your Warframe, perform an ability, and then pop back in. That entire functionality has been removed. Instead, you pop out of your Warframe, as the War Within allowed you to, and run around. But the focus trees augment certain abilities on the operator. So imagine if you augmented your Void Dash to then cause a trail of lightning to come behind you and damage all enemies. And there were so many changes done to the focus trees that it allowed your operator to actually be an active part of your playstyle, where you'd hop out of your Warframe, perform a Void Dash, do a Void Blast, get back in your Warframe, and then, while the enemies were dazed from the Void Blast, hack them up, things like that. It allowed the operator to be a cohesive part of your Warframe style, something that hasn't been available until now. But that is essentially the end-game content of the Plains of Eidolon. And if you want to raise your reputation with the quills in the Plains of Eidolon, you have to go hunting at night. You see, the Plains, this open world zone, has a day-night cycle. 100 minutes for day, 50 minutes for night. During the day, the Grineer are out in force, and they attack, and you kill them, you gather resources, you do all the things. You can actually go into the lowest level part of the Plains of Eidolon, just in free roam mode or in a low-level bounty, and explore the plains and benefit from them, from the resources, from everything. The plains are immediately accessible to low-level players, and you can get these weapons known as Zaws, which are some of the most powerful weapons in the game, and you can actually farm them in the Plains of Eidolon at a low level. However, at night, all the Grineer that aren't tied to a specific base, the free-roaming Grineer assault teams, they'll go home. And instead, the spirits known as Eidolons come out. They are these little wisps, as well as one giant Eidolon creature. When you kill the wisps have a low chance to drop a Eidolon core, and that core can actually be turned into the quills for reputation. And so you are encouraged to grind the plains at night if you are an end-game player who has already finished the War Within and gained access to the quills. And you're encouraged to farm the plains during the day if you're a newbie or just in general want to take advantage of the upgrades that are available there. There are mods specific to the plains that can be installed in your Warframe, and there are things to do, such as hunting down creatures, killing them for their meat or claws. There are mining nodes where you will take a mining laser and drill around the ore deposit in order to mine it. There are fish in the waters, and you can use a hunting spear to spear the fish and get them for their oil or turn them in for reputation. There is a lot to do in the Plains of Eidolon itself. Now, the Archwings that allow 360-degree flight in real space, these can be accessed in the Plains of Eidolon, allowing free flight, not just being grounded. However, the Archwings require an Archwing launcher that needs to be made in your clan dojo, aka you have to be a part of a clan, and will require many resources in the plains in order to craft the actual launchers themselves. So get ready to do some fishing. The game is at its core still very, very grindy, but the bounties feel fresh once you get the lay of the land and understand how the plains are laid out. When an incursion mission just pops up randomly, you go over there and you do it. It feels almost like Saints Row or Grand Theft Auto in that sense, where you're going, you're finishing a mission, then you're back to free roam again. It's satisfying, however, it is not a game changer, and that's the important thing. It's very satisfying if you like Warframe to begin with. However, if you don't like Warframe's grindiness, its repetitiveness, if you don't like any of that, this isn't going to fix your issues with the game. This is just more content and different content thrown into the existing amount of content. Digital Extremes has a problem, and that's they pile system on top of system on top of system, and it becomes a complex, confusing mess. And so things don't necessarily make sense, especially if you're a returning player who hasn't played in several updates. There's no narrative to guide you to that new content. This is not a guided experience in any way, shape, or form, and I believe that is a criticism of Digital Extremes. Other people see it as a virtue, but I don't. But despite that, the combat in Warframe is so satisfying that it actually is worth overlooking that problem and just enjoying the game for what it is. Now, the Plains of Eidolon are still ultimately detached from the main game's end-game sorties, which are ultra-high-level missions that you can do daily for loot. It is still separate from the Kuva Floods, which unlock after you complete the War Within, which are, again, ultra-high-level missions in order to gain a rare resource known as Kuva. And so far, it seems separate from the main story involving the Grineer Queens. And aside from the fact that the Eidolons are actually these ghosts of fallen sentience, it doesn't really seem to have a connection with the Second Dream's sentient story either. Not a meaningful one, anyway. These are just echoes, things left behind. They aren't a clear and present threat like the sentients were. And still are on the moon. And speaking of the end game, because this is another part that's not connected to the Plains of Eidolon, it is a major change. The old system where you do normal missions in order to get tower keys, and you take those tower keys to the Void in order to do Void missions, that is gone now. Instead, you can access the Void whenever you've unlocked it, and Void missions are just regular missions. It's just that you get Argon crystals. That's pretty much the only reason to go to the Void. The way grinding for these prime items and the end game items in general, it's changed to a fissure system where there are Void fissures happening in certain missions. The missions where the Void fissures happen cycles through. It may be one mission this hour, it might be another mission a different hour, but you go in to these missions, and as a secondary objective on those missions, you will gather reactant in order to crack open a relic. You'll get relics during missions, just like you used to get tower keys during missions, except these relics contain the end-game items. And when you crack them open, your entire party will get to choose between the relics that have been cracked open. They can be thought of very similarly to Team Fortress 2's loot boxes, with the exception that you don't pay for a key. You simply have to do an in-game event in order to unlock the box, instead of buying a key. Now, I'm sure I missed a ton of features that have been updated, that have changed, but that's pretty much it. The Plains of Eidolon is a fun, open-world zone, which is fairly large, comparable, again, to a Grand Theft Auto map. However, you have the ability to fly if you have an Archwing, or just bullet jump through all of this massive terrain. Grineer and other enemies will show up and try to beat you during the day, and Eidolons will haunt the areas at night. You can go to the town of Cetus at any time in order to pick up a new bounty or turn in the rewards you got for reputation or anything else. There's all kinds of vendors and things to see at Cetus, and after you've progressed far enough in the story, you can take your operator through a hidden door in Cetus to meet with the Quills and handle their reputation. At the end of the day, again, it doesn't make Warframe any less grindy, it doesn't change the way Warframe works, it just piles another system on top of another system on top of another system. And I think that people who really enjoy Warframe are going to love this update. I think people who looked at Warframe, 3+ years ago and said this is a garbage game should come back to it because it has changed so much. But the critique I had before about them being obtuse and not well explaining of their stuff, let's put it like this. In the Plains of Eidolon, they only now added a codex scanner tutorial. The codex scanner has been in the game and been a very relevant part of the game for a long time. It shows that they've taken some of this criticism on board, that they know there are things that need explaining to new players. And that means there's hope for this developer, that they can take criticism from the community on board, and that they can properly communicate things to new players, because that's what needs to happen. Here's an example of something that isn't adequately explained. Corrupted mods on the Orokin Derelict. The way dragon keys work. All of it. It's very confusing to new players. I have a full set of corrupted mods, and so it doesn't bother me, but I get people routinely asking me, why are my abilities so bad? I don't understand. And, you know, we have to walk them through what a build is, and they're like, well, I don't have any of those mods. And then we have to lead them to the Orokin Derelict and get a group together, and that's all fine. But they should be able to come to the conclusion all on their own that in order to maximize their Warframes, they need corrupted mods. You see where I'm getting at with this. When people say this is a wiki game, they aren't lying. Digital Extremes has proven with this update that they can explain things to new players, and that explaining things to new players is on their minds. So please keep going with it. Keep expanding your tutorials and your systems in a way that new players can benefit, because otherwise the drop-off rate is still huge for new accounts. And that's unfortunate, because the game is so much fun once you've gotten into a organized group. The Plains of Eidolon brings nothing revolutionary to the table, nothing that other games haven't done to some extent, but it integrates those concepts into Warframe successfully and gives it a change of pace that I think is refreshing. It doesn't subtract from the content in other zones, doesn't mean you can't still go back and do an hour's survival on Mott and enjoy it, but if you get bored of just doing, you know, survival or defense or any of this stuff for hours on end, you can just wander and free roam and then go do some incursion missions. And you're rewarded for doing so. So in conclusion, should you return to Warframe from 4+ years ago? Yes, the entire game is different now, and it's great. Should you return from 3+ years ago? Yes, because the systems have been refined and built on top of each other. Should you come back from about a few months ago? Well, you've got the gist of the game. There's a new mode to check out, and it doesn't hurt you any because the game is free. Now, if you've never played the game before, feel free to click the link in the video description. It will be my referral link, and it will prompt you to create an account, and I will benefit as a result. I've got a group on my Discord server who plays Warframe regularly, so feel free to click the link in the video description for that, and you can talk with them if you don't feel that you have the gist of the game. But otherwise, and I can't stress this enough, take advantage of the wiki, take advantage of YouTube, take advantage of all the community services, including the region chat, because the game itself is terrible at explaining things. And the actual in-mission people, your mileage will vary, because while there is a really nice subset of people who will help you learn the game, there is also various subsets of people, from elitist bastards to jackasses to people who outright mislead you. They're all a part of the community too. And denying that they're a part of the community means you're probably blind, deaf, and dumb. But in general, the toxicity level in Warframe, being a co-op game, is lower than in other comparable games. That's a plus. So, yeah, click that referral link to benefit me. Check the links on screen for more content, and I will see y'all next time. Earth? We're going into this Cetis for the first time, so I'm just going to go to maybe one of these empty ones. There we go. And we're heading to Cetis. So I should probably change my ship type. I've got all the ships except one, and yeah. Here we go. Cutscene. Cutscene. So this is supposed to be Earth. 20,000 years from now. Don't know about those hats. They don't look that secure. I'm pretty sure they're doing fashion over fashion over function here. I'm liking the skipping though. That skipping is very immersive. Ah, children. Just what they needed to add to the Warframe universe. Small people that they call children. Okay. No, I'm on board with this. Yep, reclamation colony. Well, there we go. Let's do it. No, they really did need civilians, though. That's something this game needed. Like, the game world itself. This is a no-fire zone. This is just a colony area. But, it's outdoors, which is nice. Like, they've transitioned the core gameplay onto the Plains. The Plains is like the expansion pack. This is the next thing that you do. You see what I'm saying? Like, all that other content still exists, but it exists to serve the Plains. The focus trees doing what they do are only doing that because, you know, the Plains demand it, and I believe that they'll probably create new systems on top of that, on top of that, on top of that. But the old focus trees were just tacked on, like, awkwardly. They didn't synergize together with the operator. The point of this is now, like, you should play as the operator some. And this is how we, like, they wanted you to do it in horror. Remember that? They really wanted you to play as the operator. And
that was annoying in horror.
Yes.
Yep.
But imagine if you went to the Plains first and did a shit ton of Plains stuff, then went back, like, you know, with your enhanced operator, and did Haro now.
Oh my.
Definitely, I saw how expensive that stuff was, and I was debating. I think I'm going to put my points into Zunrik. So it's the new chapter. Yes. Yes, it is. You figured it out. Okay, energizing dash. I think, yeah, I'm going to do the energizing dash, because it, allies passing through the zone. Yeah, let's just put some points into it.
Well, the amount of point, right, it takes 2 of your pool to get energizing dash to the next level. I can only get it at the 4 out of 5.
Mm-hmm.
But it's 5 energy per second for 6 seconds.
Yeah, I'm liking this a lot. Just the idea of how this works. Yeah. So, increasing my operator void energy, increasing my void energy regeneration by 30%. Let's see. There we go. That's good. So the regeneration on my operator is going to be kind of insane right now. At least compared to how it was before. And I like that a lot. It encourages a style of popping out of your Warframe and going back in. And, you know, because think about it, you can pop out of your Warframe, do 3 void dashes to cross an incredible distance, then pop back into your Warframe at the new location. Like, you can do some crazy shit. Yay. Okay. There we go. I should probably get some of that scarab armor. And then stun people and then chop them to bits. So we're just supposed to clear all hostiles in this area. Exterminate. I do like the regional exterminates. It's neat. Whoops. Got caught in the corner, though. Incoming assault. And now we have to have control levels. This is a difficult thing. Okay. I was never a fan of the control level concept. It's like, you have control of it when the enemy is dead. I can kill little guys, but not doing shit to their weapon there. Okay. Doing well, I guess. It's funny to watch the enemies just kind of fall into it. Okay. Let's see what we're doing now. Good enough. Oh, it's a Nox. That explains everything.
One second, I'm just gonna slap a thing on him, take a bunch of damage, then one-shot him.
Yep.
Hello, Arson Eximus. Hit me. Or not.
The Arson Eximus dies because of covert lethality. That's all
Never
there's
mind.
to it.
Never mind, the Nox died instantly.
Yes. I stunned him, so he gets kill moved. Which is really the point. Yeah, right. That is one thing that Naramon does, is it makes people open to finishers. Just by void dashing through them.
That sounds incredibly fun. I might have to pick that up again.
Thanks for that.
Emergency Grenier supply caches are hidden in the vicinity of highway point.
Yep.
You're always at full energy in that bubble. That is amazing.
What do you mean?
Oh, every time I would do a stomp and I have like 50% efficiency, I would instantly get all of it back.
This gives you like 5 energy per second or something like that.
It's not that bad.
Yep. Well, let's move on to the next one. We have to find the Grenier caches.
You are nearing the supply caches, but I am unable to pinpoint their locations.
Yep.
You have to search them all out for yourself.
They make noise. That ship easily on my other one. Sorry. On the lower difficulties. It's just kind of funny.
Ooh, yeet. Time to feed.
25 enemies.
Keep going. They won't be able to sustain these casualties for much longer.
Yep. 14 out of 25. Heal boots at all costs.
His
shit.
death ushers in the apocalypse. Hey,
Yeah,
2 out
right.
of 10 stars.
Yep.
Completely
boy.
worth it.
Yep. Well, that's good. Alright. That worked out pretty well. Okay. We're gonna just knock that guy in his ass. Void dash through him. Bam! You see that? Lightning. What happens is I knock a guy in his ass, then I void dash through him, and this lightning bolt just goes through him. It's
Oh,
kind
you
of
got
fun.
the lightning.
I got all the things, because I did Zunrik for way too long, so you know. I just got a sampling of everything. This should just, yeah. But the operator handles a lot better now.
He doesn't feel like you're hitting things with wet toilet paper.
Well, the beam isn't great still, but he has his void ability to supplement the beam, and the beam doesn't take away from his, you know, actual abilities. And that's the important thing. Like, they made the operator so much more powerful with such a simple tweak. And so, you know, you're able to do quite a bit.
Then there's reclaim the stolen artifact.
Ah,
as
yes.
well as called the enemy.
Alright, I am leveling up. I'm going to be an off-worlder. Your sacrifice, urge complete.
Banana.